Good morning, FedPhoenix fam. So, today we are going to talk about prison laundry. Now, this is going to be interesting because, I'm breaking stuff. But because there's a lot more to it than what you would probably think. It's a lot more complex of an issue. P.S. Look, y'all, my hair is growing out, which I'm thinking about because when my hair is cut, it's like at an angle. I'm thinking about cutting off these like extra little long pieces. What do y'all think? Should I do it? Should I not do it? I mean, just like this right here, just so it's, I don't know. Anyway, but so this is a fun topic, and I'm gonna get into every aspect of prison laundry for y'all. I took notes to make sure I was thorough. And so I'm gonna get into it. So this is about prison laundry and that whole situation. Now, of course, this is federal. If you or someone you love is going to or has done state time, your experience or the situation may be different. And mind you, I did my time in a Fed camp, a minimum security prison. I'm sure this is very different, facility to facility, higher levels, whatever. But a lot of people who watch my channel are preparing to go to camp or low, and or a lot of people watch my channel have loved ones that have recently entered the federal prison system. And so, particularly, lower level. I do get some like FCI, medium, I think I've had one like USP, like maximum security client or loved ones of the inmate. But generally, that's kind of the audience this is intended for. This may or may not be applicable to you or your loved one based upon specific facility, security level, yada, yada. So let's hop right into it, shall we? First off, a lot of people, when they're getting ready for prison, right, they join like internet groups and stuff or whatever, different forums, and they ask people who've been to prison, what can I do? How do I, whatever. And often a question is asked is, what can I bring as far as clothing goes, right? And a lot of people have only done state time, and in some states, you can wear in, or bring with you so many pairs of all white underwear, socks, bras, t-shirts even. That's not the case with federal prisons. Federal prisons are not letting you bring in and keep any street clothes at all. The only one exception is if you have a specific religious hair covering. And it's smart to bring some kind of documentation to validate that, because a lot of times these prisons are kind of out in the middle of nowhere and the employees are locals who are not very cultured. And so let's say you wear a hijab in, well, that's a pretty common one. But even then, you may want to bring some type of documentation to explain to them, this is in fact religiously, necessitated in order to be able to keep it. And even then, they have strict guidelines if you wear a religious hair covering for men and women about what, sometimes what specific colors, what specific style. If you're using a lot of pens and all that kind of stuff, they're not, or any of those, or magnets, they're not letting you keep that. You really want to be very aware if you're bringing in a religious head covering of what the specific criteria and guidelines are. Now, another thing is the religious hair coverings that you can buy. We call these religious SPOs, special purchase orders, which, you spend money off your commissary account to get these, tend to be really crappy. The selection is virtually none. A lot of people will actually change the religion in prison, in their file, in order to acquire something to like wrap their hair up with at night, because there's no comparable item available to the general population on commissary. So with that in mind, if you can find a nice scarf that is a color that is acceptable by the prison and a style and all that, while you're in the free world before you come to prison, even if your religion is not actually that, if you state that's your religion when you come in, you get to keep that. And then when you get on the compound, you can sell that for a really high price, because that's a huge commodity item. So, a lot of people worry about when they're incarcerated, how they will financially get through that, or not wanting to be a financial burden to their loved ones, and bringing in a religious hair covering, may very well, get you, a decent little chunk of commissary once you get on the compound. So that's just something to keep in mind. So another thing is what I call transferred in laundry. So a lot of the people you'll be incarcerated with, or a lot of the people at these prisons, come from different facilities, right? either just generally different facilities of the same security level and they transferred to be closer to home or for programming reasons, or they were in higher security facilities and got their housing points reduced down low enough to transfer into a camp by staying out of trouble and programming and that kind of thing. Now, at different facilities, the sneaker options, the work boots options, the t-shirt options, these can be very different. The undergarment options. So if you, let's say you transfer in, like where I was at, we couldn't buy white t-shirts at that time. So if you transferred in and you just got a fresh pack of white t-shirts that came with your property, you can sell those t-shirts for $10 to $30. Trade them for that much commissary on the compound when you may not have spent $10 on the whole pack of 3. So if you can get $30 a piece for 3 t-shirts, in commissary, you're going to get almost $100 in commissary for making a $10 purchase prior to your transfer. And if you're a person that expects to be moved around a good bit, this is something you should certainly give some thought to, because again, this can make your financial sustainability while incarcerated a lot smoother. So, and a lot of people don't know these things until they actually get to prison. And sometimes at that point it's too late, or they don't know them until they catch on to other people doing it. Now, mind you too, well, I'll get into that when I get into contraband laundry, which is a whole nother fun barrel of monkeys. Okay, where I was at, we had what we call bus pants. So when you first got there, the uniform you were given, right, was, the brown t-shirts, and I think there was, you didn't get your uniforms at first, which now I think you actually do the first day or a few days. But, because that was COVID when I got there. But you would get what we call bus pants, which were like the uniform pants, but instead of having like a pockets and a button and zipper, they just had like an old elastic waist. And I wondered for a while, why were these called bus stop pants, right? Or bus pants. And then it occurred to me that before my time at Alderson, at the prison I did my time at, they used to put some bunks at the front of the unit, the front of the housing unit, like outside of the typical like aisles, where in cubes where people were housed. And they did that because of overpopulation issues. And how that worked is if you were, and they called that the bus stop, because the overhead lights were constantly on. You had no walls, like way less privacy than the people already have minimal privacy. And they called that the bus stop, So bus pants were worn by people at the bus stop, by new people. And I guess how this worked is you would be at the bus stop. That's where your bunk would be in the bus stop, until someone who already is in an established cube got into trouble or left, opening a spot. And then based on seniority, and if you'd been staying out of trouble, you would actually get a normal, bed in a cube. So bus pants, I thought were a fun little thing to throw in. Now, we had uniforms in grays. Now, at our camp, the uniforms were khaki colored. Some places, they're blue, they're green, basically whatever's cheap at the time. You could not choose to wear your grays, on a weekday down the hill to lunch. You could, but you can wear uniform all you want. But your grays, which you will have to purchase yourself. The only thing they're going to give you as far as clothing goes is 6 pairs of socks, 6 underwear. The underwear, if you pull them up too fast, the elastic rips right out of the waistband. I mean, they are trash. The socks are tube socks that were apparently made for people with incredibly petite legs and ankles. So a lot of people bust those up, the top of those up so that they don't cut the circulation off to their feet. And bras. And you would get, I think, 6 sports bras. And the thing about that is they basically were just white cotton material. There was kind of an elastic at the bottom, not much give to it or anything. And it was basically just 2 pieces of white material sewn together. Like no support. You had uniboob. It was smushed together. It was just bad. Now you could buy undergarments, socks, bras, underwear off commissary. And then the socks on commissary were like a Dollar Tree kind of brand ankle sock. The underwear were like Hanes or Fruit of the Loom, and in the packs of like 3. And then they had some sports bra options, and you could not have underwire. But they did have some regular bra options that weren't actually underwire, I don't believe. I think it was like a plastic, kind of thingy. And then every 6 months, you can go to laundry, and this will vary how this works at different facilities. But where I was at, you could either just send a cop out, an electronic email to laundry requesting it, or you could go down on your laundry day. Sometimes people just wander into the laundry facility. And they would get served. Sometimes they wander in, they wouldn't. But you would get, I think, 1 towel. It's usually pretty crappy. 1 wash rag, or maybe 2 of each. Or 2 wash rags and 1 towel. You will get a flat sheet or a fitted sheet, a flat sheet. The fitted sheet is going to not fit. A lot of people would poke holes in the bottoms of them, in the part that goes under the bed, and use yarn to tie them into place. A flat sheet, these are not going to be any good quality. They're going to be horrible. You will get one pillow, which will go flat pretty much immediately, and that's your pillow your whole stay pretty much. Some people's pillows got like really, really, really bad, and they were able to get a different one through laundry, but that rarely happens. You get one pillowcase, and you get 2 very uncomfortable, itchy blankets. Now, as far as your clothing, like I said, you will get socks, underwear if you're a woman, bras. They will give you, we got, I believe, 5 of the uniform t-shirts, which were like this brown, usually some kind of shade of like really just like doo-doo brown. A lot of them had holes and stains, and it just was what it was. And then you got a few pairs of uniform pants, which of course were men's sizes, because why would the Bureau of Prisons have women's specific clothing when they can just buy men's in bulk and everybody can wear it? But uniform pants and shirts. Now you would find that sometimes the same person, one uniform shirt in a 2X may fit you, and then another uniform shirt you need in a medium because of how it was cut and sewn. Because keep in mind too, most of these garments, these uniforms, other than the t-shirts, are made by inmates at other prisons with Unicorps programs. So these are not professional places. These are not, warehouses where people have been doing this for years and years and kind of have it down to a science. A lot of this is just novice people who are learning the basics of sewing to make these uniforms that can be, sold, that stay within the prison system. So they're paying, the labor price of what, like $1 an hour. They're paying for materials, and then the actual prisons they get shipped to buy them from the prison that made the Unicorps as well. So it's almost all profit. Child labor is more ethical in all fairness. And the skill level is, so, when you get your uniforms, when you go down to laundry and get your uniforms, which sometimes now is same day, sometimes it's a few days. Back then it would be months during COVID. But when you go down and get your uniforms, don't just say, oh, these are my sizes and boom, give me my stuff. You want to actually go in. Ours had like dressing rooms with like a curtain. It wasn't a whole lot of privacy, but it is what it is. You want to try on each individual shirt and pair of pants, and do it quickly so you don't irritate them by being down there too long. Because like I said, one from one to the other, the same size will be dramatically different. And you don't want to say, okay, these are my sizes, and then get back to the housing unit and realize that none of this fits you, like even reasonably well. Because then at that point, you've already been issued your uniforms. Can you go back down and say, these don't fit me? Can I try on some different stuff? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how gracious the staff are feeling, how well staffed the laundry facility is, what day of the week it is, there's a lot of variables. Generally, you would have to send an email, which we call an electronic cop-out, to laundry and ask for them to be exchanged. In the meantime, you got to make do with what you got, because there are certainly times where you have to be in uniform, and you just got to do what you got to do. Now, sometimes on the housing unit, let's say you get up the hill and you get your uniforms, or, as you gain and lose weight throughout your incarceration, stuff fits you different. A lot of times, in the housing unit, particularly once you've been there a little while and a few people, you can say, hey man, I noticed, you're a little bigger, smaller than me. These pants are too big, too small. I think they'd fit you better. Can you try them on? If they fit you, will you exchange me for a pair of yours that, these are too small for me. If they fit you right, can I get a pair of yours that are maybe a little too big? You know what I mean? And you can kind of work out these kind of deals. Are you supposed to do this? Absolutely not. Does anyone give a crap? No. And you'll also be issued a belt as well, if I recall correctly, yes. And you'll be issued work boots. Now, these work boots will be god-awful. Super heavy, really boxy, steel-toed. They will rip your feet apart. They are not something made for comfort. Which is why I tell people when I advise people when they self-surrender, one of the very first things you do is at commissary, order some work boots. Because there are always a couple name brand options. Timberland, some other ones. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it. But boots that are actually made in the free world by free people that are not like the cheapest, crappiest institutional shit you'll ever find. And those will certainly do your feet a world of favors to have some boots. Now, the only thing with that is, let's say you say, okay, I need a size 9. And you get them in that particular brand, the 9s run small or big and they don't really fit you right. You don't always have the option of taking them back to commissary and waiting to get a different size. Sometimes they're like, you bought it, they're yours, end of story. And then again, you got to try to find somebody on the compound that you can exchange with where it's a mutually beneficial exchange. Or you got to try to just sell them to someone on the compound. So if you paid $100 for them, someone may give you $70 for them, or $60, and just use that towards your next pair. And, there is a video on exchanging money between inmates to explain how you would pay for those, because you're not going to walk around with actual paper cash or credit cards. But you will have a laundry number. Now, when you first get there, it's really overwhelming because you got your inmate number, right? You got your PIN number for the core links, for the true links, which is your email and phone call system. And then you also have a laundry number. So you have a lot of numbers. And it's kind of expected that you just know these numbers. Your laundry number, where I was at, was 3 digits. But this is the number that will be written on some of your laundry, that will be on your laundry tag, because you're going to get what we call dog collars, which are like these things that clip little hoops, little cloth hoops. And you string your shirts and pants and stuff together with them, and has your laundry number on it. So when you go to pick up your laundry, you say, I'm 648. They look for something that says 648, and they go, okay, here's your stuff. And the way you string them together, they don't get clean. Any laundry that came from down the hill from the laundry facility generally smelled like burnt motor oil. Now, personally, there definitely came a time where it wasn't feasible for me to be going up and down the hill much. My last couple months in prison, I was on medical convalescent status. I developed and had a lot of serious medical problems as a result of the medical negligence. So anyway, so I would just pay somebody in the unit to do my laundry, pay them commissary, and I had them doing my regular laundry, my blankets, my whatever. The only thing I didn't have them doing was my whites, my socks, bras, and underwear, which I just preferred to do myself. You know what I mean? For privacy reasons, I was like, that's a little much. Now the thing with that is, are you allowed to wash laundry in the housing units? Where I was at, absolutely not. You can get in trouble for it. They can write you a disciplinary infraction, a shot is what they call it. Generally they don't. They just take your stuff, which is almost worse, But the people you pay to do laundry, that's kind of their hustle, is what they do is they take a mop bucket and they line it with a trash bag, right? And then they go in the shower and use the shower to fill up the mop bucket, while in the shower where they're kind of out of sight of the COs. And they wash your stuff. Some of them use shampoo. Some of them have connections down in the laundry, people that work in laundry, and they kind of smuggle them up, soap powder, to wash the clothes. Sometimes they can really score good and get like Tide. Usually it's just the industrial crap. Some women scent this stuff with like the scented, perfumed oils. So, sometimes my laundry come back smelling like Snuggle. Sometimes it would smell like White Diamonds, and it was usually really faint, kind of, easy on the senses kind of smell. And, they do blankets, they do sheets, they do whatever, because you pay these people in commissary and this is how they financially survive. But if they get caught, let's say you pay somebody to wash your uniform pants or your blanket. And so it's kind of tricky getting these things dry, right? Usually, we can buy fans off commissary, and usually these people have a fan. Sometimes they have 1 or 2 extra fans kind of stashed away or that they borrow to try to speed up the drying process. And usually they dry them at night or when they know that there's staff working that they don't really care about the whole laundry thing. Some staff are more petty and they'll get on you about everything. Some are just kind of like, if you're not creating a nuisance or bothering anybody, who cares, I think with blankets, a lot of times they start drying in the shower area, right? And then eventually they make it back to, a lot of times people try to find like an empty bunk to hang stuff on, to put fans on to get it to dry, or off the side of the bunk beds, that kind of thing. But, but if this person gets caught, let's say washing and drying your blanket by a CO who wants to be petty, and they go, you were issued 2 blankets, why do you have a 3rd institutional blanket? And the person says, oh, well, gives whatever BS story, and then the CO will likely take the one that's hanging up and wet. Now you don't have a blanket, and you can't go say, oh, I lost my blanket, I paid someone to wash it and it got confiscated. You can't say that. So now what do? Do you trade somebody some commissary for one of their blankets? Do you just go without a blanket? Do you try to find somebody in laundry that when we do blanket exchange every 2 weeks, because you can go through the actual laundry facility to get blankets and sheets every 2 weeks, which of course will stink to high heaven and be tore up. Do you trying to hope that your friend that works down there is going to overlook the fact that you're a blanket short when you turn in your bed bundle and you just get an extra one, a new one, when you go pick up laundry? I mean, there's a lot of ways around it and there's a lot of options. but it can get pretty crazy and pretty messy. So that's just definitely something to consider. You have to wear your uniforms more often than not. If you go, for us, we lived on a mountain, right? So the upper compound was the housing units, recreation, health services, religious services, the library, some classrooms. I think that's about it. Then down the compound, and you had to hike your butt up and down this mountain. The lower compound, down the mountain, was the chow hall, which we called CDR, the education building, the video visit room, which we called the email room, the commissary, administrative building, psych, all that kind of stuff. Usually, I believe it was during weekdays, during business hours, you could not go down the hill without being in uniform, or you could get a disciplinary infraction for that. And now, if you were up the hill, you couldn't go to health services unless you were in uniform, regardless of the time. But, you know, if you were up the hill, so if it was your day off work or whatever, or you had some kind of, you know, medical pass or whatever to not be working at that particular point, you know, then you could be in the housing unit or out on the yard, you know, the track and all that, or at rec or religious services or whatever in your grays. I do believe for a while at religious services as well, the people who were coming to attend or partake in services had to wear their uniforms too, particularly if it was before a certain hour. And anywhere you work, you're going to have to wear your uniform, and you're going to have to work, which I have a whole video on working in federal prison camps. But your grays, which were, you know, you have to buy them. You have to buy the shorts, which of course are men's. Keep in mind, all your grays are going to be men's sizes. There's sweaters, like a fleece zip up, really cheap jacket thing, sweatpants, basketball shorts, and gray t-shirts. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And these things are rather overpriced, and people steal each other's grays. Anything worth value, you have to keep in the back of your head that there are certainly people that don't have the resources you do, or have less resources than you, and they may try to steal them, which is going to create a whole nother world of crap to deal with, quite frankly. And laundry, you know, you would have a special dog collar thing for all of your grays, your pants, your sweater, your whatever. And a lot of times things coming up from laundry had like oil stains on them, and no one gives a crap. There is going to be no, oh, my stuff got damaged, it needs replaced. No one cares, not a little bit. Now, when you leave prison, some people, if you know far enough ahead of time and stuff, and there's a specific process and a specific list of what is and is not allowed, and it's very particular. But if you go through those hoops, you can actually have sent in, I believe, a month before your release, an outfit to wear once you're released from prison. So when they take you to the bus stop or people pick you up or whatever. And I think it's very, you can't bring a cell phone. It's not going to, you know, have anything, whatever. It's going to be very simple, plain shoes, pants, undergarment, shirts, maybe jacket options. And that's pretty much it. But, you know, you can get the specifics for your facility, and you get this from your unit secretary, your housing unit secretary, and send it to your family, and they have to send the package within, you know, a very specific window of time. It can't be too far from when you leave. It can't be too soon. It has to be searched by the guards, you know, whatever. Now, me personally, and most people, from what I saw, when they leave, they just wear their grays. You bought these. They are your property. The only grays that I kept was the ones I left with, and I threw an extra pair of, I think, maybe basketball shorts and a t-shirt just in my bag, I think. I don't remember. But, you know, majority of my grays, pretty much all my grays, you know, as well as my tennis shoes and my work boots that I had paid for, you know, I gave away to other people on my way out the door. People that I knew could use them and couldn't afford them for themselves, or needed new ones real bad and couldn't afford them. One person I gave a lot of my personal property to when I left was a person who was what we would call indigent. They didn't really have they had no outside world financial support, and they were a really good person. So I gave them some things, because even if they don't personally need them, you know, they can trade them for what they do need on the compound. And bartering between inmates and payments between inmates is completely against the rules. You can get in trouble for this. Depending on the circumstances, you can lose email privileges, phone privileges, whatever. It is just a part of day-to-day life. You have to, you know, any risk you take need to be calculated, as with anything in life. Altered clothing. So this is fun. So what a lot of women do, because again, these are men's clothing garments that we're buying down to the grays, is they will use like dental floss, somehow procure a sewing needle, and they would like take the thighs in or the booty in on the pants, or maybe the sides in on the shirts, or, you know, drop the collar a little bit. If the guards catch on that you are wearing altered clothing, it's not as it was when you bought it from commissary or when it was issued to you by laundry. If they suspect you're wearing altered clothing, they will just confiscate that clothing. And it doesn't matter if it's institutional stuff or stuff you personally paid for. They will take it. You have pretty much no recourse, and you could potentially get in trouble for this. But it's a big business if you know if you have basic sewing skills and you can procure a needle, which I'm sure you'll figure out if you need to. You know, and use dental floss as string more often than not, or some people would take the crochet yarn and, you know, unravel it and pull it apart to make string. Or some people would take apart old socks and use the string or whatever. But, you know, it certainly is a very lucrative hustle in prison camp to be a person who alters clothing, particularly if you're good at it. Now, some people would even go as far as like to stitch like fake Nike checks onto the sweatpants or whatever. Again, if the guards catch on that this is what you're doing, if they see it, big trouble. You don't want that. Let's see. Oh, religion changes to acquire clothing. This was a fun one because you guys know I was the clerk at religious services. So the religious change thing. So like I said earlier in the video, if you want like something to tie your hair down with at night, right? Or maybe, you know, you put your hair up in some makeshift rollers and you want something to hold things in place, or whatever you got going on. You can't get that, you know, because these items are not available on the regular commissary. So in order to get them, you would have to do a religious SPO, a special purchase order, a special form you got to fill out through religious services to ask for these items. And it's going to take quite a while for you to get it, but you eventually will. And there's a catalog. And the catalog is very, very limited. It's very outdated. It's just really not very practical. It's overpriced. But a lot of people like wanted long sleeve t-shirts, right? Especially in the colder months because we're on a mountain. And there's no option to buy them off commissary. There's no option to buy them through even religious services. But if you have your religion in your file, or you change your religion, which you can only do once every 30 days, you do a religion change form at religious services to, let's say, Jewish or Muslim or Orthodox Christian. Now the facility laundry will trade you your short sleeve t-shirts for long sleeve t-shirts, because now you need them for religious reasons. I believe they will also, because with your uniform shirts, they were button ups and they're really crappy. You got so many short sleeve, so many long sleeve. Technically they were supposed to, if you got the long sleeve t-shirts, to also pretty much require that the short sleeve uniform shirts were exchanged for long sleeve, because if this is really your situation, you know. But I don't think they normally did. But people would do religion change forms like to get, you know, institutional long sleeve t-shirts. And as long as you're, you know, they can't really interrogate you too much about the validity of what you're claiming is your religion. But if the guards see you wearing short sleeve all the time and you also have some long sleeve, that can potentially become an issue where you kind of get forced into either or. You know, do you want the uniform short sleeve or long sleeve? You cannot have both. Because if you need them for religious reasons, why are you wearing short sleeve? If you need them, you know, if you don't need them for religious reasons, then you shouldn't have long sleeve. Another thing too, you know, of course, like head wraps, you know, some people almost kind of collected the random religious necklaces, like from the plethora of religions. And these are very cheap, crappy things. But, you know, when you're in prison, anything outside of the ordinary is exciting. But some people, I think, kind of like collected them, because there would be people that had like a crucifix, and then they'd have like a crescent star moon, and then they would have like some Wiccan thing, and they would like wear them all. And it was really kind of nutty. Like, you're spending a lot of time and money and risking losing stuff, because again, you know, the rule book says only one religious necklace per person. So if a guard wants to be petty and sees you have 2-3 religious necklaces, they can tell you, pick which one you're keeping, I'm taking the rest. And whatever money you've spent on them is now just gone, because you violated the rules, and so you're not entitled to any type of compensation. This is a result of your behavior. So it is laundry can become a very complex thing, because there's a lot of dynamics. And prison is always going to be a situation where people are very bored, and things are very monotonous, and people want, you know, like in any walk of life, you know, like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, People want what other people don't have, or they think cannot get, or are unlikely to be able to procure. People want unique things. People want variety. You know, we crave that as human beings. Um, and people sometimes like to do a little risk taking to see how far they can go. Or sometimes, you know, like with me at the end of my sentence where I was on medical convalescent, it just wasn't realistic or practical for me to be going up and down the hill, up and down the hill. Not to mention, after a year and a half of smelling burnt motor oil clothing around me 24/7, I just mentally needed a break from that. But at the end of the day, I'm paying for that with commissary, and there is the risk that I will lose these things if the person who's doing my laundry gets caught doing so by a CO who wants to make it an issue, which they are entitled to do. I strongly recommend, in regards to laundry or anything, when you get to a facility, or even if you transfer to a new facility, read the inmate handbook. Read it, read it, read it, like you're about to do a surgeon doing their first whatever. Because the thing is anything you do incorrectly, if you can relay back to the inmate handbook and say, listen, no staff member told me different, and this is what the handbook says, I was following the handbook. That's pretty much the loophole in a lot of situations to get you out of trouble if you find yourself in trouble. With laundry, that's not going to be applicable a lot. But, you know, and like I said, when people leave, like when I left, a lot of people will give away their personal effects. Some people, you know, as far as laundry goes, to friends, to whoever, you know, maybe they'll just be charitable with it. Sometimes people would leave and they would leave items, including clothing items, up by, we had like a couple of trash cans, and I think there was like they were like recycling trash cans, and the hot water machine, and a little table like in a nook on the unit. And people would just leave the stuff they were giving away on the table sometimes and let people, you know, kind of first come, first serve with that stuff. Of course, a lot of what ended up there was shower shoes and institutional combs and things that no one wanted. But yeah, another thing I've seen people do too is at the end of their sentence, when they get ready to leave, they start, you know, minimizing their personal effects, things that they bought, you know, or if they got a really good pair of like uniform pants by some miracle from the institution. What they'll start doing is they'll start selling away. And sometimes it's for commissary. A lot of times at that point, it's, you know, this is $20, send it to my Cash App. Or if they don't have a Cash App, which a lot of inmates don't, you know, send this to my mother's Cash App. Or have your people put this money on my books, which is a stupid, stupid thing to do. Again, watch the video about money exchanges between inmates to better understand a lot of these things. But they do this because they figure, okay, I've been incarcerated for a long time. I've procured a lot of unique items, you know, that have value here that are going to be pretty much useless to me in the free world. Let me sell them, get some money together, so when I do get out of here, I can afford a basic cell phone. So I can afford bus fare. So I can, you know, maybe buy my kid some small toy from the dollar store that I haven't seen in years to you know, as a display of, you know, of care. So, but yeah, laundry can become a very complex thing. There were times in the quarantine unit when I first got to Alderson, you know, during the height of COVID, there was a time where a group of women were given one bra, one pair of underwear, one pair of socks when they came in. And mind you, it took us months to get our you know, institutional uniforms and all that kind of stuff at that time. And there was a big fuss at one point because someone had said something about one of the women smelling bad. And she just had a full-on breakdown. You know, she's like, you know, what the hell am I supposed to do? They will not give me more. This is all I have. I'm washing these things out at night in the frickin' bathroom sink, praying I don't get caught drying them in my cube. And they're still damp sometimes when I put them on in the morning. I have to choose not to put them on until they dry and still worry about getting caught washing them. And, you know, we couldn't get deodorant for a while. And, you know, so it was really, laundry can get pretty crazy. Now, people who work in laundry have access to use for their personal use, and if they get caught doing it for you, they can potentially lose their job or have disciplinary write-ups. But they're actually, instead of these big industrial washers and dryers, they're actually a few small, like normal washers and dryers. And I think they actually get to use like a nice smelling detergent versus the institutional crap that goes in the big machines for the whole compound. That's one of the perks of working in laundry. Laundry is what is called a trust fund job. So you have to be on the compound for so long before you can potentially get the job. Your current job has to sign off that you were a good employee, and that whoever's hiring for trust fund, and it'll be a non-inmate staff member, has to agree to take you on. But trust fund jobs are the highest paying jobs where there's in a camp that does not have Unicor. So I was making, I think, about $5 a month or every bi-weekly, whatever it was, with my religious services jobs. Most jobs pay about $25, $35 a month. This is considered maintenance pay. Some people in trust fund are getting like $200 a month, which is astronomical in the world of prison jobs, particularly in a federal camp. So now that doesn't have Unicore, because again, I think the Unicore people make like $1 an hour, which sounds heinous when you're in the free world, but in prison, $1 an hour, that's like $8 a day. 5 days a week, that's $40 a week. That's a lot. That's a lot of money to procure from a prison job. Which, it's such a parallel universe, the world of being incarcerated compared to the free world. It's kind of nuts. But anyway, having said all that, that's the general rundown. And I try to be as thorough as I could about the laundry situation in federal prison, what to expect, what to avoid, how the dynamics work. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm pretty good about getting back to people expeditiously. If you've not subscribed, please do. We're at a little over 400 subscribers. I have a FedPhoenix merch line if you'd like to show your support for me personally, for the channel, for the brand, for the cause of humanizing inmates, acknowledging that they are people, or perhaps to show support for those incarcerated or your loved one that is incarcerated as, a symbol of unification of people who share this journey, whether inside or outside the walls. There will be a link to the merch line in the description. There will also be a link to my Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal if you would like to donate to the channel, to my brand, or to my re-entry. As you guys know, I've been home a little over a year and a half. And, I definitely feel like I'm still in the re-entry phase, because to me, re-entry is rebuilding. And I have not fully regained what my life was before my door got kicked in, in the way that it can be regained. What else? Oh, my email will be in the description as well if you need to contact me for any reason. If you are facing federal prison, if you are in federal prison, if you have a loved one who is or will be soon, or if you're just generally curious about the federal injustice system or the federal prison system, I'm usually, as long as you're cordial, I'm cordial. I'm willing to entertain conversations and questions. So, and I'm happy to be whatever help I can be to those on this journey. So, I think that's everything. I have a TikTok. Look for FedPhoenix on TikTok, by the way. I have like 12 subscribers because I'm not super social in day-to-day life, and I'm not tech savvy either, but it's not really prison related. It's more kind of just me. But if you want to get to know the person behind the brand, behind FedPhoenix, by all means, please feel free to join the Facebook page or the TikTok. And I think that's about it. I will be putting a lot more effort into putting my book together starting next year. I'm hoping to get it done by the end of the year. Mostly because right now I just don't have time. And next year, after I have a major surgery, I have a lot of downtime. So I am writing a book called Into the Fire. My pen name will be FedPhoenix, the same as my brand. And it is a memoir of my 16 months in federal prison. I think people will find it rather surprising in many ways. Both good and bad. So, I'll let y'all know when that's available. I will initially publish on Amazon through KDP. So it'll be available on Amazon initially. And eventually Barnes & Noble, Spark, Drafted Digital, whatever else. But so with that, good day, God bless, and I hope everyone's doing wonderful. And if you're not, please know that whatever you're going through, it is a slice of your life, and you will get through it because you have to.